come forward to 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel and chapter 25. 1 Samuel 25, and begin, if you will, at verse 10. 1 Samuel 25, verse 10. And Nabal answered David's servants, and said, Who is David, and who is the son of Jesse? There be many servants nowadays that break away every man from his master. Shall I then take my bread and my water and my flesh that I have killed from my shearers, and give it unto men whom I know not whence they be? These were David's men, hungry and thirsty after traipsing around the country in battle, and destitute and famished. They come to this man, Nabal, and hoping that he will at least give them something to eat that day. And he turns away and says, maybe you're runaway servants, and I'm not going to help a bunch of guys I don't know. And look down later in the text. His own servants told Nabal's wife what their master had done, how he had ill-treated David's men. Verse 17, they say, Now therefore know and consider what thou wilt do. For evil is determined against our master and against all his household. For he is such a son of Belial. I see that as S-O-B. They said, our boss is an S-O-B, that a man cannot speak to him. That's what they tell Nabal's wife, of course, Abigail. And David said, I'm going to come and I'll wipe out that man, because of the way he mistreated my servants when they were hungry and in need. But Abigail comes and she goes in between David and his anger is pacified, and God strikes Nabal down and with a stroke, or I'm not sure what happened to him, but a few days later he died, and God had dealt with him. And of course, the rest of this, Abigail becomes one of David's wives. Anyway, he withheld help from David's men when they were in dire straits and needed. It was certainly within his hand to give it to them and to provide them something to eat that day and a place to rest, and he wouldn't give it. Come to Luke chapter 10. Luke chapter 10. We're almost done for the day. Luke chapter 10. Here's a great story Lord Jesus gives, a parable. And in verse 27, Jesus says, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy strength, with all thy mind, and thy neighbor as thyself. And the man says in verse 29, willing to justify himself, said unto Jesus, And who is my neighbor? Verse 30, Jesus answering said, A certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and fell among thieves, which stripped him of his raiment, wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. By chance there came down a certain priest that way, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. Likewise a Levite, when he was at the place, came and looked on him, and passed by on the other side. But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion on him. Now the Samaritans and the Jews were hostile towards one another. But in this story, Jesus described the Samaritan as one who had compassion on the wounded man. And went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring in oil and wine, and set him on his own beasts, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. And on the morrow, when he departed, he took out 2 pence, and gave them to the host, and said unto him, Take care of him. Whatsoever thou spendest more, when I come again, I will repay thee. So, the neighbor was anyone in need. Even if you were antagonistic and you had a number of quarrels with that man, in his time of need, you were to set aside those differences and help. If you're driving down late at night, you see some guy whose car has gone off the road, and you've been almost sworn enemies of one another, but you have the ability in your car, or tow chain, or whatever it may be, to help them get things squared away, you're to stop and help them and overlook the squabbles and the differences. That's not how people live these days, unfortunately. They want to have everything, but they don't want to give it to those in need or who are less well off than they are. So the neighbor can be anybody in need. And back in our text, the good which is due to a person involved, that can be anyone, according to verse 27, is sometimes honor. Romans chapter 13, verse 7, he says, honor to whom honor is due. Sometimes it's custom, Romans 13, verse 7. Sometimes fear, sometimes tribute, Romans chapter 13, verse 7. You're to give tribute, that is an old word meaning the money that's due to the authorities and the government over you. Tribute to whom tribute is due. Sometimes it's benevolence, kindness, according to 1 Corinthians 7, verse 3. Sometimes money, according to Matthew chapter 18. And of course, in the case of our obligation to God, we owe Him our time, we owe Him our praise, we owe Him our talents, we owe Him our money. Even our bodies are supposed to be given over, surrendered to His service, Romans 12, verses 1, 2, and 3. And to defraud someone is to hold back that which is properly due to them, as Paul makes it clear when he's describing husbands and wives in 1 Corinthians chapter 7. And vengeance is promised to the one who is a defrauder. Let's turn to that text real quickly, and then we'll finish for today. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. 1 Thessalonians 4, and verse 6. We'll conclude with this verse. 1 Thessalonians 4, 6, that no man go beyond and defraud his brother in any matter, that is, withholding what rightfully should be given to him, because that the Lord is the avenger of all such, as we also have forewarned you and testified. God hath not called us unto uncleanness, but unto holiness. All right, we'll stop right